Hello and welcome to the Legends of Tabletop podcast. We are doing something a little bit different tonight. After recently editing our Runners Reboot Part 2, it got me thinking about, having a discussion about, where COREthulhu is and kind of, what direction we're in, how I want to proceed, getting all that stuff together. So Jesse's going to join us a little bit later, and we're gonna kind of just jump into it, kind of kick it around a little bit, kind of see where things are at, and if this hopefully maybe helps to jumpstart moving things forward again. I have not spent any time really re-looking at the document because things are unsettled here at the moment. But we've got it up. We'll hopefully these guys have looked at it, and we'll kind of tear it apart a little bit and see what's up. So thanks for jumping on with us. All right. So where do you guys so I guess some background, right? So like this was originally came about because Jesse had done Monster Hunt, and then the Monster Hunt Magic thing. Kurt, you did WWA. So when we were talking about, potentially writing some core products, right, just to give, eyes to core as a system, it's indie, sort of a niche thing to try to get more eyes on that to, obviously help Todd out to get, put this more into the zeitgeist, I guess, right, to put that out there. We played Day Trippers for quite a while, right? So we get potentially have a lot of eyes on that, I guess. So of course I grabbed COREthulhu is the thing, right? Like it's in the name, like you just, stake a claim to it. And then Jesse subtly berated me over a period of time until he finally forced me to put proverbial pen to paper, and put that out as a supplement. Again, it's got tentacles. It's Cthulhu, right? You figure people want to at least take a peek at that. So as what it is, I think it's fine. I mean, you guys tell me. I don't know, right? Like, it felt pretty good. Going with, trauma versus, what is it? Sanity, right? Because it's dated to some degree, right? Like it's a different RPG time, right, than we've had before. And then trauma feels more appropriate rather than like you're crazy now because you saw a monster. It's like no, you saw a monster and like, oh, that shit is fucked up, right? Like, So I was happy with that. I was proud of that, I guess, right, to come up with a different sort of system. And really it's just me snatching things from different places, right? Different systems, different different inputs. There has to be a system that does trauma, I guess, in some sort of way. But that felt more appropriate at this point. That we play a lot of Call of Cthulhu, it's fine, right? Like I'm not knocking it, right? But like if you could do it in a little bit of a different way, I feel like that's bringing it up to date, I guess, a little bit more. But
I like the way you're handling it then, right? Because the sanity, when you say sanity, it's just okay. Someone's wigging out, and the trauma takes in a bit more. It's a bit more diverse of, it's the psychological, but maybe also it isn't just fight or flight kind of thing. It's also my reaction time slowed down, or I'm so freaked out that my strength isn't as what it used to be. Kind of it. So it takes in a bit more than just the you pick up some kind of sanity. It's you're afraid of this, or you keep doing this over and over again. It takes it in the more holistically, I guess. It's all around that you're kind of effed and it's not going well. You're not going to react to things very well.
Yeah, and one of the new things that we were discussing is getting away from a track, right? Which was sort of a compromise position, right? Like initially, Todd was like, well, like everybody's trauma is different, right? And then like, yep, that's cool, but I don't know how to write a game for that, right? Like there's no way to gamify that.
Individual.
Yeah, right. So the track felt okay, but there was always the caveat of like, well, the first time anybody gets this first thing, then everybody's having the same symptom or reaction, right? Which on the lower end, fine, like makes sense, right? Like you see some shit, you're unsettled, and then you're anxious, whatever, right? Like those seem natural and normal, but then once you get a couple of levels in, like, well, now everybody has a substance abuse problem, right? Like, and that's not great, for like individuality of play and all that kind of stuff. But we are gamifying elements that would be highly individualistic if it were happening to you. So one of the things that we were talking about was, hey Nick, was changing the track, getting rid of the track, and then maybe doing either like a D66 table, like they have in Aliens,
Mhm.
of traumatic responses, or going smaller, like in a like a pirate board sort of way, where you have like three D6 tables, or four D6 tables, so like to get two different colors and like roll, on this one or that one, to either keep it random, or if you have smaller tables, right? Because 66 is a lot. I don't know. That's a lot
Yeah.
of fucking work, right? um, but even with the smaller tables, you could pick and choose, right? Like maybe your first reaction is like getting fucked up, versus having a phobia or whatever, right? So it allows some more individualization of it. Um, I think I have a copy of the DSM that we found online. But again, that's where the work comes in, of like spending hours and hours of going through that, and like trying to winnow down to like, I need a category of responses, right? Like we're talking about trauma, not like schizophrenia or
Yeah.
other diagnosable conditions. It's more of like a trauma response, and like you can attribute a especially in this situation of like horror, right, of
Yeah.
PTSD sort of thing, but to more fine tune it, I guess, right?
Yeah. So it's not just the fight or flee. You
Yeah,
want to have
yeah,
it a bit more than that, but you also don't want to play a game where you're diagnosing. You don't
yeah,
want to go
yeah,
down to
right,
that level.
yeah,
But and I think one of the things, so I like the idea of a big, huge chart because it's randomizing. But like you said, that's a pain in the ass. Roll what you hit.
right,
Is there a way to maybe split the difference? Say, okay, there's these kind of typical ones. The you see something horrible, now you're completely obsessed with that thing. So you're always trying to go towards it, or running away, or having a phobia about this or that or whatever.
yeah,
So do you do like maybe a smaller, like you said, a smaller table of a random one, and then also give the option of, okay, for this particular character in this particular setting or moment, is there something that would fit really good narratively or into the character's development or regression or something?
yeah,
Because those are, the random ones are fun, but it's really good if your character has a specific thing that you can really hone in on and either push to go bad or go good. That's always a fun one to do too. um
yeah. I mean, if you can keep it contained within the narrative elements, right, like that's always
yeah,
optimal,
give them the
right?
option. Okay, yeah, instead of rolling, this makes
Yeah,
sense for your character to do this.
to have that thing, right? Yeah, because you
Yeah,
you could
exactly.
look at the random table and just be
And
like,
fine,
okay, well, this one
I
makes
want
sense in
that
this
one. Yeah.
instance, right?
Yeah.
But for people that wanted to roll, like fuck it, roll. Like people respond in weird ways, right? When bad shit happens. So like you might think that it would be this, but it could be some other completely
Yeah.
Where the fuck did that come from? Like, holy shit. I feel like that's within the realm of an appropriate response, right? Like, because everybody deals with that stuff differently. So that's
Well,
one of the things.
you could even make it to. Oh, sorry. So I was saying you could even make it even simpler than that. You could even make it into like certain categories. Even you could be like, like getting like what you said, getting fucked up. That could be like a category, and then people could choose their own thing out of that category of how they do it. Or you could be like, has a phobia, and then people could take something out of that. So you could even minimalize it even more than that if you wanted to, or you could do that and just give specific options and then say, this is limited, and you could make it, you can put more into that as you see fit, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like more options are always better, right? I mean, you want to give the players as much and the GM, right, as much as possible to develop the narrative and suck the players in and have the characters experience that, right? And to be fair, we play a very particular kind of style, right? So like maybe that's not fun for everybody. I don't like like, oh, now shit, I've got a substance abuse problem and a fear of whatever. Like I don't, when you're playing a horror game, right? Like what you're signing up for, right? Like I feel
if
like
I wanted to play real life, I wouldn't be playing a role playing game.
So yeah, that's one of the things. This tab is using my microphone. Yeah, I know shit. Okay. Just want to make sure nothing got you. I'm like, shit, what just changed?
Could you just run through something quick, if you don't mind, about this? Just mechanically, if you don't mind doing it right now, the order that it's showing up in this thing is confusing me a little bit. So when you, and that's me, that's a me thing, not a you thing or the document thing.
For trauma, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. They're the same.
Yeah,
so
okay.
so you see something, it triggers the thing that it triggers the mechanic here. So like you're rolling. I'm seeing like you're rolling against shock. I feel like I've asked this question before, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating it like months and months, maybe years later. But is that yellow highlighted table down there, like event, you see a fresh corpse, like that's the DL that you're rolling against when you encounter something?
That's extremely a work in progress. So I stole some things just to get like sort of a broad swath of like experiences. So like that's none of that is like set in stone.
Oh no, I get that. Yeah, but those are that's what you're rolling against. So like let's say it's 7.
Yeah. So something happens, right? So say let's just pick one at random. You are attacked by a supernatural creature or by a friend, loved one, or bond. So like that's really fucked up. So the DL that you're rolling against is a 7. Typically you're like, off the top of my head again, typically you're not going to have anything to roll with a bonus for psyche, right? I mean, maybe if you had made an insight roll earlier in the game and you suspected that there was a supernatural creature, that maybe you get a bonus somewhere, right? Like that's, or if, that's like that's on the table in the GM, right? Like how you want to play that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But typically like your psyche checks are like a flat D6, right? Like it's your psyche score, roll that number of D6s, higher is better, right? So the best in that case, if you don't have anything to add, you're going to roll a 6, maximally. So if you miss by 1, no but. And then the GM, mechanically then rolls on the shock table. So the lower, actually that's math and dice mechanics now. It's not necessarily that way anymore, but you roll 2 to 4, you're holding it together. Like, okay, that was fucked up, but like, all right, we've got shit we got to do. 5 screaming in fear or aggression, all the way up to fainting or just taking a negative to your psyche. So the shock table is sort of stolen from Aliens, right? Because shock and trauma, obviously two completely different things, right? You're laying in bed at night and you hear a fucking crash. You're not traumatized by that, but you're sure as hell shocked like a motherfucker if all of a sudden, there's really loud noises, right? So, but then if you come out of the room and there's a fucking monster, well, now we're moving into the realm of, perhaps there's going to be some trauma involved, right? And really long term, which Jesse discovered, I guess, right? Like he brought it to my attention, is that it's really meant, unconsciously designed for long-term play. So more like campaign play, because to really, make use of that trauma. Again, if that's a thing that you're going to enjoy in playing a game, that's going to, manifest itself long term, right? Like you could, in theory, play a one shot where, you make a couple of, shock rolls, maybe you gain a level of trauma, but it's not in gaining the level of trauma where the story is. It's in how that affects the character as this character now exists and engages with the world, right? Like any horror investigative game, the assumption is that, either you have a group together who've experienced something and, now they're fighting against it, or, the group comes together however that happens to be, they experience some weird fucked up shit, and now like you notice it, right? Like it's like the conceit is like it's sort of that you see it out of the corner of your eye sort of thing, right? And then people don't want to acknowledge that, like, oh, there's a monster or there's ghosts or there's this weird fucked up thing, right? Because you're like, nope, I gotta get to work, I gotta do my shit, I gotta pick up the kids, right? Like you're just grinding to get stuff done. And, if you do kind of happen to catch it and you look, like it's not there, right? But then once you engage with it, it sort of breaks that. And you're like, oh shit, I noticed that thing now. And what do we do? Right? Because no one else seems to. So, like, do we do something or just kind of like la 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 la?
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because I, before we even got on here, we were talking and I was like, somebody, get recommend some horror audio dramas, and I've been listening to some that have that same thing. It's like you've got the person that is trying to figure out everything and kind of believes but doesn't believe and doesn't know what to believe and that kind of thing, and then there's the person that's helping out and they want to like debunk everything. They're like, this isn't real, you're full of shit, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. And then there's the people that believe in it wholly and they're like they worship the things or whatever and they're like all in. And then there's the people that have been like fully like traumatized by everything and they don't trust anyone or anything, including loved ones and stuff like that. So like, like these type of games, like they want, most of them are designed for that kind of play where it's just like, it's not just, oh, you fight a monster. Yeah, you did it. It's like, there's a lot of build up to that point. So like games like this are specifically, I feel like, made for a long campaign because you get to see how the characters kind of progress and adapt or not adapt and kind of move on into the storyline.
Yeah. And again, that's how we like to play, right? Like we rarely play one shots, right? Like, even Runners as a play test, and we're, 4 years in or whatever with the same
like
character.
Third or fourth iteration. It's just,
at least, right? Different settings, different backgrounds.
That the one that you just did with Jesse with the COREthulhu, I'm blanking on the name of it.
Theseus is Investigator.
So yeah, so your character was gaining trauma symptoms and you were moving down the track, correct? Like that was something that was happening through the whole thing.
Up the
I thought
track,
that was
down the track, yeah.
Yeah, it was up down. First of all, I think I already told you. I thought that was great. I thought that was probably one of the best examples of how this is probably supposed to run. So you should like prop that up when you're like doing more of this COREthulhu thing. Like listen to this because that was good.
Mm-hmm.
So, but one thing I wanted to kind of go back to is like you fail, like you could possibly. It seems like there's a possibility to just gain 2 levels of trauma. Like if you do like so that's the intent there. Like if you miss by more than one, you're getting 2 levels of trauma, regardless.
I don't know if you miss by more than one. So if you miss by more than one, right? So if you miss by 2, yes. Again, I would have liked to have rolled all the stuff. Miss by more than one. No end. The GM rolls on the shock table. You gain a level of trauma. So flat out, you get a level of trauma, and then potentially based on the roll from the shock table, you could in theory also gain another level of trauma, right? Because again, like design intent, whatever, right? Like that's the hook for the game, right? Is like just so like Call of Cthulhu or Delta Green, it's sanity, right? Like you want to fuck with that because that's what the game is about. So to put the mechanics for that, very clear and upfront, it puts a focus on that as a system to be engaged with, right? And Theseus Investigator was a one-shot. So you could play this as a one-shot. And it was fun. Like you had a good time. And that's, all on Jesse, setting everything up. But what, I mean, and it's not even I don't want to spoil it. But like what happens after, like that's all really fucked up. But then what happens afterwards, right? Like what's the fallout? So you could, in theory, run this as a one shot and up everything, right? Just amp it up so that you're making more rolls. Your creatures are more deadly. Your situation is more deadly, right? And it'll still be fun, right? But you're not going to see those long-term consequences of, now this person is dealing with, however the trauma state, whether it stays with the track that it is, or if it, ends up being a huge table or whatever, right? Like you're not going to see the long-term impact of that and how it affects that person's life, right? Because when I first started working on the rewrite, like I was really into the Delta Green stuff and I was like, oh, this should be more like this. And then after a little while, I was like, no, it shouldn't. Like that's their thing. They're doing their thing. It shouldn't be like that. It's not really where I want this to be. But it, I completely lost my train of thought.
The Delta Green thing, you're talking about the bonds and,
bonds and stuff. Yeah. To see how that interacts then with that person in their life, right? Like how does that affect their bonds, their contacts, their job, right? Because like, yeah, you're playing a game where you're now like, a mythosy investigator, but also like you're a person that exists in the world and like has a job. We're just not focused on you going to work because that's not fun or interesting. We're dealing with the stuff that's happening that's, pertinent to our interests as players, and that's the monsters, right?
And I think, I could be completely wrong, right? I'm sure you could ask the guys when you go to Necro if they're there. But the bonds thing to me feels like it's a way in Delta Green to mitigate some of that, right? It's to,
yeah.
So I think, okay, well, we're in this thing, something happens, it's not like you can, just, go to sleep and then when you wake up, that's recovered. We have to find a way for them to either limit the amount of impact of it and to get it back. So, and I don't know if the bonds thing came out from them saying, how do we how do we get people to, refresh this stat or something, or whether it was them going in. We want to see how effed up everything is and how people react to their loved ones or their people close to them. And oh, by the way, we can use that to then get back some things or limit some things. So I don't know. I guess was it a mechanic that was built out of a role-playing thing or a role-playing thing that then became a mechanic, and it works good for that, right? Because you're a bunch of professionals that, have seen some shit. So it's going to affect you. It's going to affect you. And I don't know if you want to keep going with that, if you're out of your Delta Green phase now or.
Well, see, that's the thing, right? So like in Delta Green, right, the way, and I listen to RPPR still, right? So like they play that quite a bit, but the way that it occurs in game is like, okay, well, you see this thing, you're going to take a 6-point, sanity hit. Do you want to roll on your bond? Okay, cool. I roll a 3. Cool. I only take 6 or 3 sanity now, and then it's like, fuck you, Dad, right? And then boom, 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 shoot at the monster. And that's not what I wanted, right? Like, it becomes a mechanic where, like, okay, I'm able to continue in this moment because I'm not going to hit a breaking point. I'm not going to, take 5 at once or whatever, right? I'm not going to have to fight or freeze. But it becomes sort of flippant in a sense of, like, I can mitigate this damage now. I'm going to pay for it later.
No.
But it's almost like it's not, like, quote unquote, taken seriously sort of thing, which is fine, right? Like, it's fun, like, play your game. I'm not knocking it, right? Yeah. But, for design intent, that's not what I was after.
Because it kind of takes you out of the moment then too, because you got to remember you're going to be pissed off at your wife. Yeah. And before the next session, let's
Yeah. So and because, like, there's derivative stats and things like that, like, for your bonds, you get so many bonds of character creation, you put so many points and yada yada. So the sticky wicket for bonds then kind of becomes, okay, well, how do we handle that, right? Yeah. You could keep it to 1 or 2 bonds, have them start at a level of your psyche score, right? You got 2 psyche, you've got 2 points in your bond, out of a potential, 6, I guess. And then if you, I think, if I remember correctly, the conceit was not to be able to use it in a mitigative, that's not a word, fashion, like in the moment, right? You can be like, oh, deep one, fuck, I'm like, fuck my dad, but that you would then in your downtime to try to, regain that stability or that, push that trauma down, whatever, was that you would make that roll first and then play a vignette like they do in Delta Green of, a home scene, a work scene, you're out with the guys or whatever, and like your group of guys is your bond or whatever. That depending on what that roll is, like, you fail, and you're like, you fucking guy, like, you don't get it, like this or whatever, right? So like you're damaging that bond narratively, right? Like kind of taking it out on them. Or if you succeed, cool, you can remove that level, right? So like you started drinking because this is all fucked up, and then you have a nice conversation with your wife, your whatever, and like it puts you kind of back on an even keel, right? So not that you don't drink anymore necessarily, but you're not just like fucking pounding glasses full of whiskey or whatever, right? To numb everything. But then, like, how do you then bring that bond back up? Do you spend XP to do that? Right? Because there's a trade-off then. You're not getting a skill, right? Like, you're not going to bump up another thing, but you're investing in your character and in your story that this person is important to you and your stability in your life as a person who exists in the game world. But it seems harsh to some degree to be like, well, I could take a new skill at +1, or I can bump my bond back up by 1 point. right? And maybe it should be, right? Because you're making a decision about what's important to this character, right? To this person. So I haven't like really figured that out. And the other side of it is, right, we can leave that as a mechanic or take that out as a mechanic, but also including bonds as a concept within the game gives people an opportunity to think about the character, what's important, what's their home life like, right? Because maybe it's not your significant other, maybe it's your kid and your character's divorced, right? So like it gives a fuller context of character to be like, hey, you should have at least one bond, right? Or you should have, because some people are like, cool, I want to play a private investigator. Cool. Got it. Stat them all out. They're a super good private investigator. What are they, what's their context around them, right? Are they married? Do they go to church? Do they, like, what's their life like, right? Because how that is then in theory going to cover, color how they exist and move through the world, right? Like,
so I was actually thinking of this a few days ago, ironically listening to the RPPR Delta Green game.
Who let this guy in?
And so I think you're right that COREthulhu, so like you said, Delta Green and a lot of the games, right, use the bond as a resource that you can pay down, right? You can chip it in and eventually the bond's done, right? I like the idea of, and the bond is used to mitigate the shock and the damage of that.
Yeah, in the moment. Yeah.
In the moment, right? I like the idea to put a different spin on it. So like you said, of not sacrificing the bond to mitigate the shock, but instead using the bond to heal the trauma.
Yeah.
I think that has more of a realistic and positive spin on the bond.
Assuming it works, right? Because it could
Assuming
still
it
go south.
works, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which again is the risk, right? Do you just eat it and be like, all right, well, I guess I'm an alcoholic now because like my bond is at 1. Like I don't want to make that roll.
I think it's a roll that help. I think so you know how like, so similar to with a lot of games now where there's the play cycle, right? Mm-hmm. I think it should be essentially a forced check,
okay.
right? To see, because you were going to go home or wherever you go and interact with your bond. Mm-hmm. So I think that should be a regular part of the play cycle.
That makes sense.
To test where the level of the bond is, right?
Right. Yeah. How does that home scene go? What happens after you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Eviscerate a deep one and then like go home for dinner.
Yeah. And I think oh, go ahead.
No. I was thinking. I'm reading through the bonds. I'm thinking, you know what a great bond would be? Your therapist.
James?
That's like a way around it. They're supposed to be trauma dumped upon. It's just a nice, it's just pretty cheese the whole system.
Well, so yes, sure, right, but that's less of a bond, right? Than because the other ways you can mitigate trauma would be going to therapy, right? Stealing from Delta Green, getting out into nature. They also have like staying on the case, which.
Oh, I like it.
This doesn't have that necessarily. Like, I'm not opposed to that also being a thing, but right, like you're doing things like it could be meditating, it could be spending time with your bond or with your family or whatever.
I mean, what if? All right, so what if this in the downtime aspect, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe if you now, I don't suggest doing it as structured as I do with runners. Mostly because that's not your style. But it also doesn't necessarily make sense in this game. But if you give them like generalized options, and like, so one of the options could be like, repair the bond, and in which case you have to spend like time and money, perhaps. Like, I know that's tough, right? Like, I'm just throw money at the situation, right? Like my my spouse is angry, so I'm gonna buy them a gift, right? That sounds kind of cheesy, but
yeah,
but it's going out, right? Like going out, maybe you're going out to the
time,
movie, spending a weekend away, right? You're spending time together, and normally spending time together costs money. But one of the things, maybe in order to, like you said, if a way to get around testing the trauma, right? If you want to like just keep your head down and like keep working, right? Like, I'm just gonna push everything to the back of my mind and keep the job first and keep going like that. Maybe an automatic thing is like, okay, yeah, cool. You don't like your trauma stays the same. Like, you don't have to worry about the downtime and all the evil thoughts and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you're not spending time at home, so your bond suffers because of that. It's just one of those like automatic, like, I'm willing to risk my bond because if I stop, bad things are going to happen in my brain.
That actually leads me to a question that I had about it. Like, could you potentially, like, would it, like, the GM use the bond to fuck with you?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's not like it's not like an off the table, on the side thing meant to mitigate like trauma.
No, right.
Like if I want to take your bond and I want to, stick him in a situation.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, totally. Right. Yeah.
I wasn't
for sure.
but I was just asking.
Yeah. No, you could totally do that. Right. And again, like it's your table, right? Like, are your players comfortable with like, okay, I'm going to invest my time, I'm going to invest my XP or whatever to have this bond, and then, have them fucked with in a certain way. Like, not every table necessarily is going to want to do that, right? Like, when we did our first D&D game, Kurt was like, oh, so, this and that. Oh, you've got a kid. Like, what's your relationship? Like, oh, yeah, she's gone. Like, she's dead somewhere. Like, she's in fucking hell. Like, that's cool. Go find her, probably, I guess, right? Like,
I guess we have to go find her.
But like, we're in for that, right? Like, that's fine. Like, it's cool, right? But like, every table might not want to do that. But sure, right? Like,
I played. I can't remember the name of the system. What's the big Zweihander? That's it. It was the big two-handed sword. We did a virtual Gen Con Zweihander game a while back. And one of the characters had a sack full of kittens, and it's that yeah. And one of the other guys that I was playing with is a huge cat lover, and he said, "I swear to God, like, total metagame. If you do anything to those cats, I'm gonna quit the game." we were like, "Okay, Dave, don't do anything to the cats, okay?"
But did I say cats? I meant rats. Yeah, right. Obviously, table safety first and all that stuff. I mean, horror is difficult if you're not playing with people that you know, and even people that you know may not have told you everything that, like, is necessarily going on in their lives. So there might be stuff that comes up, and you fucking move on from it. All that stuff, obviously, implicitly at the beginning, right? There is some level of like, you're playing a horror game, so like there's gonna be horrific stuff. But yeah, you work all that stuff out at the beginning for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, John, for sure. Right. You come home to do your home scene, and there's, your house is tossed. There's no blood, but you can see that there's been a scuffle. Because you've been trailing the cult, and well, guess what? The cult find out that you were looking after them, so they decided to look into you.
Like, if you don't want it to be random, you want it to make sense with it. It's not just I'm just gonna fuck with all the people you love. Like, no. Like, it's
Yeah. Oh, a serial killer broke into your house and killed your wife. How about that? That's fun, right? Take a level of trauma, dick.
I thought we were doing an adventure on something. Okay, fine. I guess we'll just do this. No. It's got to be within the. But yeah, that would be. Yeah, I
Although
like it. I like
so
that.
it actually brings up an interesting question though.
Mhm.
So if bonds are mechanical, right, to an extent, so like bonds are how you help mitigate or at least level off trauma, right? But then a GM fucks with that bond, then essentially they're removing that mechanic from the player.
But there are other things you can do to mitigate your trauma.
True.
Right? It's not the only avenue by which you can do that. Of course, if you come home and your significant other is missing, you're probably not going to go meditate or, go off for a hike in the woods, right? But what that's going to do is drive story.
Right, yeah.
Right? And drive that character.
Yeah.
In a direction. If everybody's cool with it, right? Like if you sit on the table and be like, hey, is everybody cool with, your bonds being fucked with, whatever, and everybody says yes, whatever. And you can do it or not do it, right? You don't have to do it.
Sure.
You don't have to do it to every player. Maybe, two players are like, I don't want that, and two other people are like, yeah, fuck it, go ahead, do whatever, right? Like, just don't kill them probably, but like, go ahead, put them in peril.
Yeah. I feel like you could reward. You could do like a reward thing where you could you can strengthen the bond as a result of dealing with that situation. So
right,
you get like
successful
a
rescue. Yeah. Right. The issue then becomes is if we make it mechanical, there has to be a way to buy it back, essentially, right? So the only thing that kind of makes sense is spending XP because it's really the only meta currency that we have. Is XP, right? And like say in Cypher System, you can spend XP to influence the scene. I think we played something else that has a similar sort of thing. So you're like, cool, I'll spend, my 10 XP to, buy this back up to, or we could have a different scale, right? Maybe it's half, right? So instead of being, 10 XP, because I'm on the old system still, 10 XP to get a +1 in a skill, so you can spend 5 XP to get a +1 tier. But if it's at the level, right, then it, like how deep do you want to go? Like, does it scale the same way? Because that seems really harsh, right? So if it cost me 10 points to get my bond at a level 1, does it cost me 20 points to get it to is it like exponentially increased as the skills become, or is it just like a flat 10 points? Because if 10 points is a bit, right? Like I think like our average sessions we were getting 2 to 6 maybe.
Yeah.
So
I don't think we ever really hit double digits.
No.
Maybe once or twice, but like
I'd the most Reggie ever got was 6.
Yeah, like average, say maybe like 3. And you could also pull in, for XP, or this is a different conversation. Right, you defeating enemies, in core itself, you get points for taking damage, things like that. But you can also go in an alien sense of like you go through and you ask the questions at the end of the session. Mm-hmm. Did you do this? Did you fulfill your obligation? Did you engage with your friend? Did you hinder your adversary, whatever the fuck's called? Did you discover something, right? And maybe different character classes have different questions. Like, did the scientist discover something? Did the I guess that could also work for an investigator, I guess, like a detective. But like, we could increase that to some degree, I guess, right? But suggestion other than XP, because it's hard unless we add another meta currency, right?
Right. Yeah.
I was Life Shapers. I mean, I like Life Shapers as an idea, as I've always wondered. what else you could layer onto it, because it's just, I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, so they're still a thing for COREthulhu. I know Jesse's concern with life shapers for runners and for core, I guess, in general, right, is that we never really tapped them for anything, right? Like we didn't use the mechanical aspect of like, oh, I want to use this in this scene to get an extra die or, you know, whatever it is. And I'm okay with that because again, for me, the life shapers help to round the character out. So like if you cut it, like I have a cut just to two, motivator, complicator. What motivates this character? What's a potential, you know, complicator for this character? Right. And motivator for like private investigator might be like, I gotta solve the I gotta solve the big thing. Like I want to get my name in the papers. Like I want to, do whatever. And like the complicator might be like, I have an addiction problem. I have, infidelity on my significant other. Like, there's something like, okay, like that seems like a weird complicator, but then like, if you're working as a private investigator and a situation presents itself where you may be tempted to, indulge in that sort of behavior, well, now it complicates a lot of things in your world as a PC who exists in the space, right, in the world. And, maybe your wife shows up at the fucking restaurant you're at, right? Because it's a complicator. It makes things complicated.
Yeah.
Or her friend sees you and you're like, oh no, it's a client. Well, why did you go to that restaurant? That's a pretty fancy restaurant, right? Like, for me, it helps to build story and create character, even if it doesn't add a mechanical benefit, right? Because again, you might not. It again puts you in the frame of reference of the character, right? Because again, that's the thing that we're interested in when we play. So that's like the design space I want to be in. If I could be so pretentious as to say that.
I think I said the wrong thing. I'm sorry. I did not mean life shapers. I meant what's the character development scenes? Wasn't that a part of Core?
Yes.
Where you would establish something that wasn't a life shaper thing. That was a whole separate deal. Where if we needed to explain something, yeah.
Also,
I'm sorry. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
If
you have a new character
in Core that we never used, yes.
Yeah.
I always like those though, because you could be like, well, this, and this. Okay, well, let's do a character development scene, and then we'll talk why that makes sense now. And I thought that was a good way to handle that. And sometimes you'd get a skill point out of it.
It explains a skill, right? So like, if you're spending XP outside of downtime, which we did in Day Trippers, right? Mm-hmm. And you could limit it, runners, as you can spend your XP in your downtime, right? Like it's a week, it's a couple days, like you're specifically doing a thing, right? Like you're training, you're going to the gun range to shoot, you're taking up sewing, right? You're spending a week fucking sewing patterns or whatever to like get your technique down or whatever. It's a discrete amount of time where you're like, we see, because you're describing having a scene or a vignette or whatever, where you're like, this is the thing that I'm doing, right? With the character development scene, it could be in the moment where you're like, oh shit, I want to spend that, 10 XP to take demolitions. And you're like, oh, you have demolitions. Like, where did that come from? 1920s. Oh shit. Well, when I was in the war, I had to blow up a fucking, a barbed wire, whatever, to, get the krauts or whatever. Right. So like you explain and play that out in a scene where it explains why you now all of a sudden have this skill that we've never seen you use before.
I only want bratwurst.
But to get back to bonds, and any other suggestions as far as like, does it seem reasonable to spend an amount of XP to buy that bond up, right? Because again, you always have to make choices with the character of how you're going to spend points.
I think it does.
Go ahead.
I would say yes, because it's a hard game, right? We want to make it because this isn't, the reason people play Call of Cthulhu is because you're not the super barbarian blessed of a god, right? It's okay. Well, I fell on the steps, now I'm dead. I can go to a different character. So making those hard decisions to me seems like it fits in, right? Because you are just mortal. So, I think having that trade-off, do I get better at something, or do I, build this up knowing that I may need that because I'm going to see some other shit that's going to make me lose it again? Do you want to fight through it? I'll take a skill, or do you want to try to make yourself not have more trauma to be able to function? Then I'll spend it on the bond.
Yeah. I like so in that respect, I do like the idea of keeping that same scale, right? Of that 1 to 6, because it gives them the false idea that they'll ever have like a 5 or 6 level bond when in actuality it's probably going to be a 2, maybe a 3.
Yeah, 2
right?
or 3. Yeah.
Yeah. My issue is I inherently don't necessarily like the idea of using XP on the bond. Only because the way I would equate it, like for me, XP is meant for character development and building up your skills and abilities and things like that. It would kind of be like in D&D using XP to buy a new weapon, right?
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I could see that. Yeah,
but at the same time, to keep it simple and not add an entirely new meta currency just for this one mechanic, XP makes sense.
I've got an idea, but Kurt, do you have an opinion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I talking? I think that I can see it from both ways. I kind of like that because I can see both Kevin and Jesse's points on that, but also like I think if you play a longer game too, you get to a certain point where you're like, I got all this XP, like what the fuck am I gonna do with all this XP? And I think that's a good place to put it, because then it kind of keeps you working on something where you can help your character in that way. So I think that that's a good thing to have. I really do.
So this occurred to me as Kevin was backing me up. What if instead of using XP, right? So you come home, you have your vignette, your trauma dumping on your significant other. You get a yes and boom, bumps that level up. They get you. Like they fucking see it. They're there for you. You're able to share this, innermost, fear and whatever. And then that obviously strengthens that bond, right?
So use the existing rules then so to Jesse's point, you're not creating a new meta to get that. Yeah, I think that works out well, right? We have the different levels of yes, no, yes, but use it. So use it for not just the other things. You want to use that throughout the game. Use it for the bonds too. So that to me that makes sense.
I think that's the smoothest thing, because it's not using XP as a outside to solve an outside issue, but at the same time, it's still using an already existing mechanic to bolster a new add-on. I think it makes sense.
It's not dissimilar to you get a no end and you get a trauma, right? Like you're just flipping it to the other side of the scale.
I mean, if you think about it, so like when you're with your bond, right, on your downtime and doing everything, ultimately when it comes down to the roll, right, you're gonna get a yes, which means like yes, you have like your trauma is quelled for the moment. You can get a yes and, where yes, your trauma is quelled and your bond is improved. You have the no but, where your trauma gets worse but your bond is still stable and then the no and, where your trauma suffers and your bond is weakened.
Mm-hmm. And the current conceit now is that like your psyche roll, to make that recovery is always just a 4. And again, there's nothing really to add to that, right? Like it's just a straight roll. So like you're 50-50 odds, right? Like more or less. So I
think potentially because now it's unfortunate, but I think the way that COREthulhu goes, right? Like your standard pathway is eventually a fall into despair, right?
Yeah,
it's Cthulhu. That's what's going to happen. I think to potentially help that along, maybe that psyche roll should be manipulated by the level of trauma you have. And then you can mitigate it some ways, right? Like maybe you are spending money and downtime on a therapist, or or you're spending extra downtime with your bond, right? Mm-hmm. So like maybe you have those other ways to mitigate that offset, but eventually it'll catch up to you and it'll just be too hard for you to cope with, and everything will start collapsing around you.
Well, having redone the dice math, the placement of things on the shock table, it's much easier, as we saw in the playtest that we had, to get trauma for that to happen. True. So like you in theory, we played for an hour and a half or whatever, and I think we took 2 levels of trauma.
Yeah, right.
So you play a 4-hour session. In theory, you could wind up with 2, 3, 4 levels of trauma, or 4 expressions of trauma, right? So like if we go more to like a D66 table, and you pick and choose, and I get like where it like falls apart a little bit. Then like, is that realistic to be like? So like the scale works, right? Because the symptoms get worse, right? You're unsettled, and then you're anxious, and then you're, whatever the fuck it is, right? As opposed to like, oh, well, I never looked anything up, so I don't know. Like, you get, this thing, and then you have a phobia, and then you've got, substance abuse. Like, does that make sense in like the space of a couple of days, right? Like, I know we're playing a game, but also like you want it to make sense that like this is something that could happen, as opposed to like the track is increasing in severity for sure. So I don't like, it's the core problem, right? Like you got 1 to 6, so you get shot and it's 1 point, but it's meant to be cinematic, right? Like it's pulpy, it's John Wick-ish, right? In that like you get shot and it doesn't kill you.
You can in theory get shot like 9 times and still be right.
There are people that get shot 9 times and don't die, right? Yes. Like it's but you're really fucked up in the hospital for a while.
That is true. I just read a story of, no, I'm not gonna. We already did the runners thing that got way too close to real life on Sunday. I don't want to do it again. Kurt, you missed the post show. I apologize. But no. So what if instead of having specific traumas, right, like a chart of traumas, what if instead you have a trigger, and that the severity of that can increase, and you can end up having multiple triggers, but like, maybe you have one for like dead bodies, or maybe one for like unnatural, I don't know, magic or but anyway, you have like you basically should trigger, and your triggers can be from like this maybe after adventuring for like 9 sessions, well my corpse trigger is at like a level 5, and my I don't know, alien trigger or what, however the trauma presents itself is at like a 2, right? So you can have a few different triggers, but they each have their own different level, and that represents the severity of your reaction anytime that happens.
I mean, I could see something like that. Yeah. I mean, it would be a different system for sure.
Yeah.
We'd have to think about it a little bit more on like how to make it work, right? Like,
yeah,
I can see that, right? Like, wouldn't like generically be monsters, but like if you saw a deep one, it might be like, an aquatic thing. I don't know, like, right? Like you couldn't just like then break it down to be like, oh, every time I see a monster, it
right,
increases,
exactly,
right?
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Does that?
But I mean, maybe it's then you have to be the GM would kind of have to be a little more careful about when shock rolls happen, because you want to make that important. So maybe like it's not necessarily seeing the deep one, but it's like during the fight, like you're in a fight with a deep one and like you get pulled underwater, and like that the trauma of that is now like maybe you have a fear of deep water or fear of drowning or something like that.
My first thought was that it becomes a lot to keep track of.
It does, yeah.
If you've got a lot of different triggers, right? Because in theory, every time you play, it's going to be a different entity or whatever, right? That seems a little
you don't want to
burdensome.
necessarily collect triggers, right?
Yeah,
but it's almost the similar, right? Where in one system you're collecting triggers and the other one you're collecting traumas, right?
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I wonder if like Kurt was saying earlier when we were talking about like D66 table or like the pirate board, we have a couple of different smaller tables. If there's a table, of like, like anxious, unsettled, like the lower stuff, and then like, so it's still like a 1 to 10, right? Where you hit your breaking point, but there's like then 10 separate things that you could choose from, right? Or you could like increase the severity of a particular.
Yeah.
Like the like if the first box is like anxious and whatever, if you can increase the severity of that box before like moving to the next box sort of thing, or like if you choose one, I guess, right? Like it maybe sort of depends on the narrative too, right? Like if you become more anxious because of this thing versus like I'm anxious and now like I have nightmares, which again kind of makes sense, right? The scale makes sense.
Right, yeah.
But everybody then experiences all of their trauma in exactly the same way, which doesn't feel as great.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, the tough part is that no game... well, there has to be a game out there that has done something like this. Right?
You would figure like, it has to be.
Right, but like every Cthulhu type game has essentially just done like, oh, you have a sanity tracker. Like,
you
have somewhere between 1 and 100 sanity, and it slowly dwindles down until you go insane.
Well, that's why this is good, I think, because it feels like less of a ticking clock to an unplayable character and more like a piling on of a bunch of crap that you have to deal with. So I don't know that you necessarily have the problem of like, oh, everybody deals with this stuff differently. I mean, I'm looking at like like anxious. Like everybody gets anxious, but it manifests differently. Phobia, that could be a whole bunch of different things. So I think if anything, if you're worried about that, if anything, it could just be like an ongoing, well, not ongoing, eventually you have to, but like you could just continue to make them a little vaguer so that it's like the interpretation of each one is different for everybody. And if that's all you really, that should satisfy that problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was kind of my
like
point.
Lashing
like,
out.
You don't
There's a
have
million
to
ways people
fine-tune
can lash
everything.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead again, Kurt. Sorry. You and John were
No,
My fault.
yeah. Sorry. I know. I always try to like wait, and then I never do it right. That was kind of my point. Like, make things a little vaguer, so then people can kind of interpret how they want to interpret it too. Because if you name certain traumas like this is this and that is that, like people are still going to be like, but there's also A and B and C within that. That kind of thing. So.
Right.
Like substance abuse, like we're all going to take different drugs. Like,
Yeah, different ways, different places.
Yeah.
What are you paranoid about? I'm paranoid about this.
Yes.
What do you see when you hallucinate? Like there's a whole like I like it. I like the way it is. Like it's just you can just interpret all of it differently.
Well, also too, like not everybody is necessarily going to start like regular people wise, right? Like not game, but like a normal person. Like not everyone's just going to start at like anxious. There are some people who are like automatically like something happens and they're going to jump to like a level 3. They're just going to jump to nightmares, right?
Yeah. Well, there might be a.
Sorry, good.
There might be a person. Okay. So there might even be a person that like is is like, I see these things like before anything even starts. Like I want my character to be like, I see all of these things and it fucking creeps me out every time, and I need to figure this out or kill this thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's not as big of a problem as I think that it is.
Would you consider something like? I don't know if you have a specific like breaking point should always be the very last thing. But
yeah, for sure.
Shuffling based on the character that you build. So like this guy probably is going to lash out before he gets a phobia. So it's more or less something that it's part of character creation. Like build your own trauma symptoms.
Yeah. It's like building up a level. Instead of building up a level of something good, it's building up to a level of something bad.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let the player participate in their own demise.
That's right. I mean, come on, that's why we're all playing this anyway.
Right.
To feel that.
All right,
pain.
I've got a little bit of an idea. What if it is not what the trauma causes, but how you respond to the trauma?
Yeah.
So what
Isn't
if it's
kind
not
of the same thing?
No, so what if it's not, what if we're not tracking anxiety or substance abuse or nightmares or paranoia, anything, but we're instead tracking lashing out or shutting down or the response that you have whenever a trauma occurred, like not a trauma, but like when that moment occurs.
Right. Yeah, right. Because then it could be like, emotionally distant, or, like you're saying the response as opposed to the trauma itself, right? So the response would be like, just numb to everything, right? Like, or whatever it is. I mean, I could see like it feels like right and left hand, right? I mean, it doesn't
kind of, yeah.
I mean, it's not completely dissimilar. Or am I wrong? I mean, you guys tell me, am I wrong?
No,
I mean,
I think as I was saying it, I was like, well, it's kind of what it already is, right? Like when you have,
I hate it, Jesse. I hate it.
It's kind of like, it's kind of like the shock response, right? Yeah. As I was saying it, I was like, this sounds like a mechanic that's already in COREthulhu.
I was just trying to give you room to breathe here.
Yep.
All right. I mean, I feel like we maybe beat trauma to death.
But yeah, I definitely do think there's something there that needs to be adjusted,
tweaked a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Okay.
you were right. I kind of do. I'm leaning a little bit more towards what you said of Kurt's idea of just like the big table of tragedy, right? Of like you have the ever more depressing columns of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it gives more opportunities, right? But it still kind of sticks to that ever growing severity.
Right, because you don't want to have players do it on their own, right? So like you get into a game, right? Like no game, survives contact with players. But like you guys are saying, to like vary it up and be like, be complicit in your own trauma, right? Like so if you're like you hit the number 2 and you're like, well, you know what? I think maybe it would be this instead. Cross off the sheet and write some other thing. Like obviously you could. Like we could encourage people like, hey, rearrange these, come up with your own, whatever. But like you want to force people to be like, oh, now I gotta like do extra fucking work now, right? Like just give me the thing that I can fucking play.
Right now, I have to come up with.
Yeah, you wrote it. I'm not writing it.
Right? And it's things
either
easy,
that or it's like check boxes. Like you got to check them all off, and then if you run out of check boxes, breaking point, done.
Right.
Yeah.
Which it's not like, with Blades in the Dark, they have the injury system, right? Where you get injured, but that's more straightforward, right? Like, oh, I got hit with a billy club in my arm, so now I have a sore arm. Like that's just one-to-one. But when you're talking about like mental shock and trauma and long-term things like that, it's less easy to just come up with, okay, what kind of mental issue is my character gonna have for potentially the rest of this campaign? Like,
and that's what I was thinking when you said Blades was, and as John talking about checking boxes of I mean, again, that would be completely like redesign of the thing, but then maybe have something more like what Blades has, where like you check a box and you fill them all out, and then you move to the next level, sort of thing. And maybe the next level is a trauma or slash i.e. response to the stimulus. That
I mean, I essentially stole the damage tracker for runners from Blades. Right? And it would allow it to. That actually, you know what, dude? That would actually work pretty well. Because it allows, if you have like minor, and depending on how expensive you want to do it, right? But just for ease of sake right now, if you had like minor, major, and severe traumas, right? It would allow you like, okay, well, I have, say you make it like a pyramid, right? So you can take 3 minor traumas, 2 major traumas, 1 severe trauma. But it would actually be possible because of the way the system works. You know how you can take double trauma of like, okay, well, normal circumstances, you would take a minor trauma, right?
Yeah.
Until all 3 minor traumas are filled up, then you're automatically taking major traumas.
Yeah.
But it's also possible if you take double traumas that you're just jumping minors and filling in a major.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can see that. All right. I'll have to fuck around with that, I guess.
That could work.
I like that. Like you make the player choose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to choose.
Yeah.
what
I mean,
trauma
I
you're
feel like
getting
at that point
now.
you still need a table, though, right? Like,
Yeah, you still
because
so
then you're
you
just
still have the
gonna
table that you can roll. Same thing. You can either
minors,
roll on the
majors.
table or you can choose it, whichever one
Yeah.
makes more sense in the moment. But yeah,
Yeah.
Like bingo, like trauma bingo. We can make a little tiny game about it. And once you get like across all the way, then you're hitting your
Right,
breaking
yep.
point. Any
hey,
combination.
I'm broken.
Yell bingo and then rip your sheet in half.
Yeah, that's symbolic. It's a little cathartic, right? Yeah,
Right,
That's
yep.
how you destroy your character. Bingo, done. Oh man,
I think that might work.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the way. I
All
like
right.
the potential there.
All right, give me something to fuck with.
Yeah.
For professions, I think because I was inspired initially by Jesse, who was inspired by like D&D and stuff with Monster Hunt, to give professions, stat bonuses and all that kind of stuff. I think all that's going away.
Mhm.
I'll keep
okay.
the descriptions because that was a lot of work. If we're, the main conceit is like 1920s, but like the game that we played was today, right? Like there's no reason why you
Right, yeah.
can't just port. That's like a person who exists with stats can exist at any time, right? Like it doesn't, it's not specific to 1920. That felt like a good conceit given, we play a ton of Cthulhu. I don't know.
Well,
if
I
we
think
need-
it makes sense too, removing all the skills and the numbers from it, because so that was in Day Trippers, right?
Yeah. Oh,
You
Day
had the
Trippers had it too. Yeah.
Yeah. But it threw the scale off.
Mhm.
Right? It didn't necessarily matter in Day Trippers because that was all pulpy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was fantastical, right?
Yeah.
But if you're doing COREthulhu and you want it grounded, then you want to control what level, at the very least, the starting, like the base of everybody.
Mhm.
And then you're going to have, you will have that power gamer essentially, that, starts off with a 5 in acting, a 5 in charm, and a +4 in acting, like this guy did with Chip. Right?
Oh,
So,
I got to roll on the trauma table. Hold on a second.
so yeah, I think taking the numbers out allows you to control that base level and brings that average down quite a bit, which is good for more of a realistic game.
Well, then your 100-point character is 100 point instead of somewhere between 120 and 150.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Because the total character value doesn't really matter, but like it's the problem in D&D. If you've got one person who has a 20 AC and a level 1 party who's playing the paladin, and your
Right.
next highest character's got 15, how do you balance, right? So like
It does also, I mean, if you think about it though, it does matter if you're doing any sort of decent amount of combat,
Mhm.
right? Because your stats are your hit points.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So if you have one character that has all 3s across the board, great. But if you have that one character that took soldier, right? So now he's got like a 5 in strength and a 4 in agility. It's like, all right, well now
you couldn't though. You like because with the way it was, you only get a +1 in one of 2 stats, right?
Well, true, yeah.
So like you might be able to, if you spent all of your XP to get a 4 in something, then you bump it to a 5. But then you've probably got at least 2 1s, so you're really bad in a bunch of other shit.
Very true.
You know, like that.
Like Chip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. But still,
it-
even having that one extra, right? Even if you have that four when everybody else is at 3,
it gives you another
allows
hit.
you to take that extra hit, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that streamlines things. It makes it a little bit more even. I really don't feel like it's necessary to
No.
have that. So
But
Bonds,
now our professions just flavor,
It's just
or do
flavor.
they do something?
nah, I think it. Well, okay. Yes, maybe.
Yes, and
Yes. Oh, there you go. I rolled an 8. So if I take those out, they exist as flavor, right? You give you a couple of options, like, hey, these are the kind of things you might want to think about if we're
they
doing this in
inform the character.
right? If we can figure out how to make moves work, then there would be specific moves tied to character class, and then general moves, right? Like in an apocalypse.
I've been
world,
married
since
for
you've
way
got-
too long. I have no more moves. I'm sorry.
The problem that we were encountering when I was
Like you
working
had
on it
any to
before-
begin with.
I didn't.
They seemed very, because I've never played games like that. It was like, take a +1, take an auto success, here's an extra die. And then it's like, well, this is done. These all sound exactly. You could call it whatever. You could flavor it whatever.
Right.
But ultimately, mechanically, you're getting one of these 3 things. That to me seems kind of dumb, right? Like that doesn't really work. If we can figure out how to implement a system where those moves work, then, like I said, those would be tied to character classes, and then also some general stuff. And then, again, like, I forget what the conceit was. Like, characters start with a move, and then you can spend XP. So, like, how are we getting more moves? That feels like an XP thing, because it's going to give you something that is breaking the rules in some sort of way, right? Like, if you're a criminal, and you're on a stakeout, like, what is something that I can see that no one else knows about, right?
So let me get this straight. What you want to do is create a system where a character specializes in something, and then there's a specific rule that allows them to tweak the game in their favor.
Maybe. What that doesn't sound familiar to anything that I've played.
I don't get it. Yeah.
So I don't know if this helps or if this it adds onto this, but the Shadow of the Demon Lord has I think I haven't looked at it in so long. I think they're called professions, where the only mechanical thing that it does is if you pick one, like if you picked criminal, it really just kind of it really just would save you a roll for something a criminal would just do.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what you're already saying or not, but I mean, it sounds like it's circling around the idea that's like, well, we don't want to do some sort of mechanical advantage. I mean, like moves I was always confused by moves. Not that it's difficult to confuse me with game rules, but like confused by moves was like, well, so if I pick a character that can do this move, does that mean that no other character can attempt it, or like no other character can do it? And then once I go down that thought process, it's like, how do you keep track? Because you should be able to attempt anything, So that's why the Shadow of the Demon Lord thing made the most sense to me, because it's like, well, a criminal would do this, and then it turns into a conversation, like a negotiation, rather than whether or not you get like a bonus or a new skill or something.
Right. Yeah.
That's not bad. I mean, you could do it where like once per session.
You could limit it.
Yeah. Where like you can do, like you said, like anybody can try to pick a lock, right? Yeah. But you're a criminal, so you can just choose, I'm going to pick this lock.
Yeah.
And you've used
or
your
hotwire a car.
Use your move for the session.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you can give him like a number of uses. You could talk about that. It could be like once or twice a day, depending.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
you could theoretically maybe use XP to increase the level of that.
Boom.
That gives you more uses.
You did it. Yes.
Yeah.
Lock it in.
So initially, that's what we were talking about, like a once per session
really?
sort of thing, right?
Oh yeah.
And it was either a bonus, right? So +1, an extra die, right? Increase your odds to do a thing, or auto success. So like what John is saying, like you're a criminal, you get to do the criminal thing for free because you're a dirty fucking criminal.
You're a dilettante, you know somebody, you're a doctor, you can do a medical thing.
You're a dirty fucking dilettante. Yeah.
So but does that feel the same, right? Because like you said, for dilettante, it's the one I'm looking at right now. I know a guy, right? Essentially, it's a contact, gets you critical information that once per session sort of thing, right?
Like
money's
said,
no
maybe,
object.
like John said, you don't necessarily lock it in as hard, right? It's whatever a dilettante can do, right? So they can have a contact, right? They have social standing, right? Like they can buy, like, oh, we need an airplane, sure. Or like we need to get into that place. I'm fucking famous. Like
yeah, it's gonna be situational, but it's gonna like basically make that moment seem like bigger, and then it's gone till the next session or whatever.
Okay, I like that. That does simplify things quite a bit, and then just increase the level as opposed to like now there's a splat book with 150 different moves that you can choose from, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Damn it, John! You're stealing your own expansion potential. The money's in the splat books.
Yeah, Hasbro will tell you. Yeah,
right.
That's interesting.
I already have 6 lined up for runners, and I haven't even let go yet.
Yeah, I could see that. Does that get old after a while? I guess would be I guess because it is varied, right? Like it's tied to the class as opposed to it's not a specific thing. Yeah.
I mean, think about it this way: in Deadlands, right? Do bennies ever get old?
No. Well, yeah, no, we don't keep them long enough.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, that simplifies the entire fucking thing.
Right. And it gives the character the chance to have the moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Of like, how the hell do we get into that build? Like, how do we do this? How do we solve this? And then that one guy can just go, I can do that.
I'm an occultist. I draw a pentagram and I say a couple of words, and a door opens or something. Like you could just let the creativity about what you are kind of flow through.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I mean, that certainly unlocks a huge.
I'm looking at soldier now. I'm a soldier. I shoot him. Like, all right.
Well, it has to be outside
away with
combat,
it once.
I guess, right? Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I like that a lot.
I'm a soldier. I sneak up to him in the middle of the night and slit his throat.
Well, you'd get the sneak, right? I guess maybe, right? You wouldn't have to make the roll. Yeah.
You get the tactical advantage of getting in there.
Yeah.
And
whatever
if you're
can
smart,
be reasonably argued for that someone would be able to do if they had that profession.
Exactly, yeah.
So I have 2 thoughts. One is that if you're smart about it, then you take the criminal with you, and the criminal also is probably going to get a free stealth roll because he's a criminal.
Right, yep.
My other thought is, where does, right, because you know, like most of you should only be rolling when it's something important, right? Like something critical. Like, you walk in and you're expecting me to contact him. You don't make a spot roll to find out where the fucking contact is. You're going to meet him there. You expect him to be there. He's probably there. You just fucking see him. It's not that important, right? Like,
right, yeah.
You fail the roll. Like, well, fuck, I guess I go home. He didn't show up tonight. So does having a move, and I guess not, right? Because games do this. Does it become critical in that juncture to have the potential to be able to fail that roll to drive story versus we get into the building and we can unlock the door so they can get in, right? Like it's a different perspective of...
I think it's essentially the I win button, right?
Yeah.
but let's say you only have a limited amount of those.
Yeah, you can only do it once. Yeah.
Right. You can only do it once, so it's not like, I guess that kind of that slightly presents the issue of leveling it up, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're playing in like a group of 3 people that all have their profession at level 3, then you have 9 I win buttons.
Yeah. That I don't like.
Yeah.
Right, especially if you're
then
only rolling at a critical moment, and then they're like, "I do this thing in this critical moment." You're like, "Well, all right."
Well, it doesn't mean
Right.
that you as a GM can't still throw something shitty in that after that instance or before that instance.
A really
because
good point.
I don't think you would allow something. I don't think you would allow a criminal to like auto pick lock if there was you're getting like there's deep ones bearing down on you. There could be like extenuating circumstances that make the
Sure.
auto win less of a bypass.
You know what it reminds me of?
Take 20.
From 3rd edition D&D, the Take 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you have enough time.
So Take 20, Take 20, yeah, Take 20 was given enough time and enough rolls. Eventually, you're going to roll a 20, so eventually you're going to succeed. Why are we? I'm not going to make you sit here and roll until you roll a 20. We're just going to say you did it.
Yeah.
But it has to be under that specific constraint of it has to be a no stress situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all subject to GM overruling anyway. So, like, if you're sitting there going, "Ah, shit, they just auto wind it," there's really nothing wrong with it being like, you can't just auto bypass this situation,
right?
I mean, you have to be a little more,
Yeah, it could be just an asterisk and be like, just it's up to GM discretion,
Yeah, because if you got 3 players who are spending XP leveling up their auto wins, like, what are you even doing playing the game?
That's true, right?
Yeah.
Come on, what are you min-maxing in a Cthulhu role-playing game? Come on.
Right. And I mean, look at it's and we've jokingly done it before, right? But like when you're in combat and you roll a 9 and you get a yes and you're like, and I kill him?
Yeah.
Like, we're obviously joking, right?
And we win.
Yeah, so maybe no XP to buy up, because if you're playing with a normal group, you've got 3 to 5 people, so you've got 3 to 5 potential. Like, well, we're just gonna fucking skip that right now. So you don't want more.
And it's gonna be situational. So not everybody's probably gonna have a moment where they can use theirs. But I absolutely once.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to do like leveling up the thing, you could tie it to character. What is it? Character cost, like whatever you're like. If you spend a certain amount of XP to level up your character in other ways, you get another use of it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, then if you've got 5 players, you've got 10 I win buttons. That seems to defeat the point of playing the game, right? Like, then there's no risk, there's no challenge, there's no.
Yeah. You just tell a story until you get to the final boss.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's it's if we leave it that way and it's broad enough, which is interesting because it gives the players a creativity to be like, oh, as a dilettante, it could be, instead of coming up with 5 different moves per profession, and then a bunch of things that you could conceivably anybody could have, right? Whatever.
Right.
It puts it on the player to be like, hey, you're an imaginative person who plays games. What do you think this person can do once?
Yep. And it's in the description, right? Like when you describe the profession, it gives them a general idea of what their abilities are, and
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
I think that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, there's not really,
and it's still clean and it still works.
Right, and there's not really any difference between that and just given a profession 5 or 6 different options, right? Because it's going to encompass most of the things you think may come
Yeah.
up anyway,
Right,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, or if you're
you know.
worried about auto win, it could just be like you get like you lower the difficulty one level or two levels for things that you can reasonably expect them to be able to do, rather than have it just be something that automatically happens.
Yeah.
It's a good point. You could use it. It could be kind of a dual use.
Yeah, like
right?
you can
So
negotiate.
maybe in a no stress situation, it's an auto success. You just say what you do. But
Mhm.
in a stressful situation, like you said, like maybe it's like a -3 or
Like
like vice versa. It gives you like a bonus.
there's
Yeah.
an easing to it.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I think that could work for sure. And that was one of the big ones. Like that's just whole sections, just all
Get rid of it.
different.
Well, now this is all
colors.
useless.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just do a list of professions, then one line. Anything a dilettante would reasonably be able to do. You can either ease 2 levels or like a no stress auto success.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No stress auto success. You could
There
use
you
that.
go.
I like that.
That's cute. That's
Yeah.
fun.
There you go. You can use that.
So for money, I think I'm going to take that whole section out for money and wealth. Like it's the only character class that deflects off of a little bit is the dilettante. But again, like
But if they have an ability where they can literally just throw their money at any problem,
it kind of doesn't
then-
matter, right?
Yeah.
Because like again, tangentially with gear, right? Like if I'm playing a doctor, I've got a doctor's bag, I've got drugs, I've got bandages, I've got needles and scissors and all the things that you would have as a person who exists in
Yep.
the world, right? You have a house, you have a car, whatever. It doesn't really matter, right? Like, did I bring a flashlight? I don't. Well, yeah, you're going to a fucking dark house or you're going into the woods to go find the cultists in the middle of the night. If you didn't tell me that you brought your flashlight, I assume you brought your flashlight
Yes.
because your character is aware of the situation. We're playing a game and may forget because somebody said a joke, whatever. Like, to me, that seems punitive, and I don't like that style of gaming. It doesn't make any sense to me because does that help with the story?
No.
I mean, maybe it's dark now, so you can't see. You got to try to sneak around in the dark. Sure, I guess, but also like, if I'm gonna go change my tire, I'm not gonna say like, oh shit, did I bring my jack? Like, no, I brought the fuck jack. I'm gonna change the tire. Like, I know what I'm gonna do, right? Like,
That's the GMing thing. Like, don't punish the character because the player is tired.
yeah,
Right,
yeah. So money and wealth then become irrelevant because as a person who exists in the world, in the game world, they have money. They buy food, they go to work, they celebrate birthdays, right? Like it becomes less important because it's not really what the story is about. Again, dilettante without the move, right?
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh well, how am I any different if I can't say that I have $1 million in the bank or whatever, right? No, well, you're rich. We all know you're rich. Like you get a special dispensation when you go places, do things, get the best restaurants because you're a dilettante. Like we all acknowledge that that's the thing, right? If you're the criminal, we all acknowledge that you're a shady motherfucker, and maybe you get in that place too because like you killed somebody that the owner wanted, whatever.
Right.
You might wind up in the same spaces, but for completely different fucking reasons,
Right. Yeah. So what if you keep wealth, right? But treat it kind of like Warhammer. So you remember, all right, follow me here. It'll make sense in a moment. So you know how I'm 40K? All right, like so when we played Rogue Trader, right? Like essentially your ship, your crew had a wealth. And you could get anything below that amount, right?
You had to roll for it. Like
You had to
there
roll,
was
but yeah.
rarity of equipment based on the size of the planet and yada yada.
Yeah. So all right. So what if this? So we're talking about like anything logical, that you're going to have on you, you have.
Mhm.
Right? What if wealth can be used as a meta currency to get the things that you might not always have on you? Like, it might not necessarily make sense that you just carry this thing on you all the time. So I'm going to, like, cash in one wealth to get that thing, right?
But what's the frame of reference for a wealth, right? So like I tried to steal the there's a chart in the Call of Cthulhu. Like if you're, from 0 to 20 credit rating, like you can spend this much a day, you can do this thing, but they have more levels than we have, and like it becomes ridiculous at the back end, right? So,
What
so
if
unless
it's
you're
not-
extremely rich or extremely poor, it kind of doesn't matter, right? Like,
So what if it's not wealth? What if it's resources?
maybe go on.
I have level 3 resources, which means like 3 times until I like, and maybe it's a downtime thing that you spend to replenish your resources. So like I have level 3 resources, so when prepping for an adventure or an investigation or whatever, I can spend a resource to get the thing that I wouldn't normally have on me. So instead of spending money to go out and buy something, right, I'm just spending this token to get the thing.
I mean, narratively, you could still be spending money, right? So like, if it's 1920s, your character is whatever, they're in a relationship, and you need to, you know, buy a Tommy gun to go take out the cultists in the woods or whatever, right? Like, narratively, you have to figure out how you're going to do that, right? Like, if I'm a criminal, that's probably pretty easy. If I'm
you use your criminal,
dilettante,
yes, I get a yes, I get a Tommy gun.
Right. Dilettante, like, of course, I have like 10 of them. Like, I bought them on a whim.
Yes.
Like, they're just fucking sitting there. Go ahead, just take it. It doesn't matter. If you're the doctor, well, you're probably pretty well off. If you're a PI, depending on how good of a PI he is, right? Depending on what your backstory is for your character.
Yeah.
Well, you might have to, as you're saying, expend a resource, expend some leverage to be like, well, fuck, I'm not gonna pay my rent this month because I have to buy this thing so we can take care of this, because if we don't do this, like, the rent's not gonna fucking matter anyway, right?
Right, yeah.
And,
well, I suppose it's doing the similar thing that Rep does in Runners, or they do this. They also do a similar thing in Blades, where you don't worry about money, right? You just have like certain levels of things that you can get. So it breaks it down in a little bit more of a simplistic aspect. So you could, in theory, say, yeah, sure, like, based on your profession or whoever you are, I guess you, in theory, could get that. But it takes out the guesswork and the haggling, right? And it brings it straight up down to, okay, I want this thing. Here's my resource. I get that thing.
But I guess, what is the resource though, right? Like, it's just a complete meta conceit of like, I have a chip to get the thing.
It's your, I mean, it's your stash, it's your savings, it's your
innate, whatever you are, it's your innate. Yeah, I'm trying to think of how to phrase it, right? If you're a criminal, it's your, knack to get stuff. I need something. I know where to go break in and get it. If I'm a PI, maybe it's your connections, right? I'm piss poor, but I know a lot of people. So that might be a dilettante might just be, I got money, right? It's just that,
Right. Yeah.
whatever for that each whatever for a soldier, it may be, the rest of my squad or battalion, they'll be able to help me out to get this stuff, or, my CO or something like that.
Yeah. And then like maybe each like professions could in theory start with different levels of resource.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you spend it down during an adventure, right? During downtime, you could spend time to replenish it, or like it could be the reward at the end of a job, right? Of like, oh, okay, here's your payment for the job, but instead of the GM saying like, okay, each one of you gets $100, it's okay, now one of you gets an additional resource.
Yeah, resource. That's
yeah, maybe. I feel like it. Like for me as a player, I feel like it doesn't matter, right? Like if you're a person who exists and you need to buy a thing, you go buy the thing, right? Like, like if the if the detective is like, I want to buy a plane, obviously, like, no, right? Like, but like if he wants to go buy a gun, like he could probably afford it. Like in 1920s, where you buy a Tommy gun for like $4 or something. It doesn't.
I mean, it depends on how you want to play it, right? Like if you want to make it so that that you don't necessarily have to think about getting the things, right? And you just want to make it logical and more narrative, then yeah, I think that works.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's where I'm feeling things to be at, right? Like,
yeah. If that's the case, then I'd say, like you said, just completely wipe out. You don't need to worry about wealth and money and all that kind of stuff. Tracking that stuff. If it's not pertinent to the game, then forget about it.
Yeah, because the goal of this game isn't being able to steal the most stuff or buy the most stuff, or
right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not the driver. We're not playing it where, okay, you pick dilettante. Everything you do is going to be based on how much money you have. So, that's going to be a main driver. A person takes the dilettante because they just want to be the character that flaunts what they've got, right? To get to a point. You don't want to have to track that on a chart saying, okay, well, you took a source out to dinner and paid for it. Cross off that much, right? You just want to say, I did it and I took him out to dinner. So
that's a really good point. And I think, Kevin, you bring up a really good point too, is in the end, like we have to think about what COREthulhu is about.
Yeah.
Right? Like why are we playing this game in the first place? And it is to play a game where your character eventually is driven to their breaking point.
Yeah, it's not a resource management game. You're not.
This isn't an adventure game. We're not playing D&D or anything like that, where we go out on adventures and we this is more of an introspective, like horror game. So
right, and the systems that are in place, like wealth and all that stuff, we never really engage with that in Day Trippers, right? Like, Nash bought a house because it's like $1 million fucking dollars, right? He's like, oh shit, I've got 58 mega. What the hell can I do with that? Like, well, fuck, what can't you do with that? Like, because we would just get paid for doing jobs and then never spend any money because we're more interested in having the story aspect of what's going on, right? So, like, okay,
they bought a Winnebago. Come on.
I was just gonna say, Reggie bought a Winnebago as a gift.
Space Bago.
Space Bingo. All the bells and whistles. That thing was tits.
Yeah. So like other than some very rare instances, right? And even having the house didn't drive story in any particular kind of way, right? Like,
Right,
I think we had one scene where like everybody was at the house playing pool
Right,
or
yeah.
volleyball or some shit or whatever.
Yep.
The Space Bagel had a bigger thing, right? Because then we had our own shit,
Yeah.
right? Like that actually did drive story. But like of all the seasons, like it was one instance of like where that actually made a difference.
Right.
And like
So
you said,
the-
that's not what this game is going to be about.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And like
it could be you losing those things could be a part of
Yeah.
the fall of the character, but that doesn't have to do with how much money they have in their bank
Yeah.
account.
Yeah, because
Right.
in Core Cthulhu, right, you've got the sanity tracker, so you want to keep sense of that because that's what, in this game you don't want to have my knack tracker, how many pickpockets have I done or whatever. You're just
Right, yeah.
okay. Well, I'm criminal, so I'm gonna go steal the money because I need it. Do I win? Do I succeed or fail? That kind of thing. You don't want to
Yep.
keep track of
Yeah.
how many times you've used your pickpocket or anything like that.
And in theory, like it could come up, right? So like if your character gets fucked up enough, well, maybe they do lose their in-world job, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Because because they get traumatized enough that they're not able to function at a level where they can do that and like go to
right.
work and maintain a relationship. But
You
but then
you get pass out drunk while you're cooking something, you light the kitchen on fire and you're kicked out of your apartment and now you're living in your car. Right?
Right.
But it's an effect of the downtime trauma, then oh shit, I spent my last $50 bribing that guard and now I can't pay my rent. Like
right, and that becomes story then. So like then where do you go? What do you do? Do you lean on the folks that you've been investigating these horrors with? Do you like, and we don't want to try to find somebody for like finding a fucking job or whatever, but like you could in theory like short shrift that and be like, all right, well, what are you doing to get at it? Like what happens? Right. Where do you land, sort of thing, right? Just again, so we have story, we know where this character is, we know what strings we can pull on. Again, is that interesting ultimately for people to play a guy who falls asleep while cooking and burns his house down and then like is living in his car? Like, is that fun? I don't know, right? Like for us, I feel like that's fun.
Right.
It maybe at the point at which your character is that way, maybe you're not wanting to play that character anymore. You want to bring somebody else in, but yeah, those all become story beats as opposed to a tracker of wealth and money.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah,
it does then again, like, how are you eating? How are you, whatever? But we're still not like counting dollars.
Yeah. You just don't think about it, right?
Yeah,
because that's not the stuff that you necessarily focus on. Right? Yeah. Like when in our Call of Cthulhu game, right? We don't focus on like the other regular PI jobs that Harry is doing, right? We're not focusing on, Georgie working at the fish market, like doing jobs down at the docks. You don't focus on those things. You focus on the jobs, the after hours jobs that they go on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same thing with George for our Core Noir game.
Right.
The other stuff's all in the background. It's the stuff that's pertinent to story is the stuff that we're focused on.
Now, like you said, you can pull that in if it makes sense in the character story. Yeah. Like if a player wants to, they can mention how like their nightmares and all that kind of stuff is making them sleep deprived, and now he's not doing all that well at work, but that's up to them to bring
Yeah.
that in.
Yeah, for sure. We did wind up doing a side job in one episode where I found some old lady's dishes at like at a fucking pawn shop or something.
Nice.
Shit, that was funny. Yeah, and then the combat is essentially, I think, for all intents and purposes, changed based on what you were doing with runners, because the dice get real messy. As far as what did I roll versus what am I trying to hit? But then that's my defense, and if I'm in cover, what is this?
And then constantly, I'll tell you too, from the GM side, constantly having to be like, okay, well, you injured this guy's agility and this guy's health and this guy's brains, and so now, and it's hard enough when you're just doing one character and you're having to readjust all the numbers on a round by round basis, but when you're then doing 3 or 4 or 5 characters, it's impossible.
Do you want to push that back on the player then, right? Instead of, okay, we can go the rogue trader where no matter, I rolled a 71, so that means I hit the 17. What is the 17? That's my left hand. You don't want to go that far. But do you want to do it where, like Jesse says, which attribute takes the hit? Do you want to leave that up to the player? Okay, you were successful from a narrative standpoint. Where do you think the impact was, or
well, he's saying for the GM to monitor NPCs, right? Like if you've got 4 players and 6 NPCs, and then
I was going to say give that to the player to say what they did to the NPC, but then the GM's still going to have to track it anyway. So
exactly, yeah.
And I wasn't even thinking about that part. My concern, I guess, if you want to call it that, was tracking all the numbers as far as like to hits and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's fucking horrible too.
Yeah. Moving it to like a Deadlands thing where it's just like hit this number, add your bonus, right? And then whatever the situational bonus is, right? They have the high ground, or they in cover, or they whatever. Like, that's easy enough to.
Yep. Yeah. Do you have? Are you wearing armor? Like, yeah.
And probably not in COREthulhu.
Well, yeah, right.
Yeah. But I wasn't really considering, having a bunch of NPCs and then tracking specific locations. And so to tie in the playtest that Kevin and Leslie and Kurt were a part of, I treated the NPCs as players essentially. So it went on way much longer than it should have.
Yep. Because
I was giving them more than a fair shake. So but even with, and we were talking about this before we got on, even with Savage Worlds, right? Change things, up, down, or out. Super easy, super quick. It's not super quick. I mean, we played like 3 hours of combat in a system that's supposed to be very simple. So combat in and of itself, regardless of system, and yes, I'm sure there's probably some outliers, is going to take a massive chunk of time. Just because of everybody's got to roll dice. Everybody's going to...
Yeah, it's naturally going to slow the game down. That's just a conceit you have to make, but it's...
Yeah.
How slow is the game going to be? That's ultimately the control that you have.
So, and I think where you're coming from, I agree with you, right? And we used to joke around about listening to the old Nerdbound when, John's done. Now we've got to wait for, and with, my tattoo and then activate this and activate that. But as you said, combat is always going to take, some time. I guess maybe is the thing to focus on. How do we make because when we're playing and it's not me in the action, it's not like I'm zoned out, right? You still want to know what's going on because you're like, okay, if this happens, maybe build it up more, some flavor or the stuff around the combat that makes it more intriguing or keeps people's attention or stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I focusing on the fact that, you know, you could spend the next 10 years trying to make combat take 5 seconds, right? And trying to hone it, but you're kind of missing the point of you want it to be narratively, you know, expansive and hold people's attention and stuff like that. So maybe cutting down the amount of time combat takes isn't maybe the most important thing. Obviously, you don't want it to go on forever. Maybe the focus is, okay, we know it's going to take some time. How do we keep everybody engaged? And, you know, not just, okay, I rolled 12, I miss. I did an action, I rolled, I hit, I did 5 damage. Like we said before, you know, make it a bit more, you know, descriptively engaging for people to, and for the players. And, you know, even if you're running the game, you don't want to get bored and just say, okay, everybody's dead because I'm bored. This is taking too long.
Right.
You know, that kind of stuff.
So my general goal for most combats, so like you're just run a general run-of-the-mill combat, not like boss battles or anything like that.
Yeah.
Which you assume are going to be a little bit more in depth and take a little bit longer, or else they're not as fun. Sure. I usually shoot, and I've heard this in other places, shooting for between around 3 to 4 rounds for combat. If your system neatly wraps up in that time frame, then you're doing a good job. That's kind of where my issue with core is for combat 2, right? Because a regular character, right? So a regular PC going up against an NPC, that NPC, unless the character is rolling yes ands and doing double damage every single time, is going to easily last well over 5 rounds.
Yeah.
And if you throw multiple NPCs on top of that, then your average core combat is going to go easily 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds. Which just makes it drag.
Yeah. I mean,
so I think there needs to be a way to kind of simplify that down. I don't know if you it doesn't sound like you necessarily want to do like a hit tracker or something like that. But maybe you mirror it's tough because you're already kind of potentially stealing injuries for trauma. I don't know if you want to do the same thing for damage.
Conditions.
But...
Yeah, conditions is a thing that's potentially on the table as well. And again, I don't know if that's fun for people to be like, oh, my leg's broke. Right? Like, like in Fate, you could break a leg or, you know, whatever, but like it lasts for a scene, right? Like it's not a long term, like, well, this person's in the hospital, right? Or maybe it lasts for 2 scenes or whatever. Because there's like minor, major injuries in Fate. It's been a long time to listen to Fate game. So those are conditions are theoretically on the table because I feel like it makes sense. As far as the NPC stuff goes, you could, right, judicious use of mooks, right? Like if you're going to storm the cultist meeting,
right? Yeah,
you know, most of them are probably mooks, right? They take a hit, they're out, right? Like it's cinematic, it's, you know, pulpy, so they just go down. But even a regular combatant, if you want to call them that, is 1 stat. So they may have a 3 in agility, so they can shoot the shit out of you. But if they only have 2 health, a yes end is going to take them out, or 2 hits is going to take them out.
Right. Yeah.
You know, generally you're shooting rather than it's health, right, or your some body or whatever. So it potentially could last longer, but if you're only worried about a single stat, yeah, you're still probably only looking at, assuming the hit.
Right.
3
Yeah.
rounds, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe then it is that thing where you have to come with the conceit that PCs and NPCs are treated differently, right?
To some extent, yeah.
You're going to have your levels. You're going to have your mook where they only need 1 hit die to drop to 0 and they're dead.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have your, commander or whatever, that needs 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your leader that needs 3, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think that simplifies it. And I think that's kind of the way that it's set up already in Micro.
Is it? Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
It's been a very long time since I read that book. So
Yeah, for sure. So conditions are theoretically on the table. How to make that work where it's not prohibitive to play. Like when Fandible was doing the Victorian steampunk unhallowed Metropolis. I think there was at one point in the game where Billy just the character wound up in the hospital because he'd just taken so much damage, right?
Nice.
Or in some sort of convalescent care or whatever. And it would be easy for that to happen fairly quickly. Right? You take 2-3 hits, it becomes more significant, but it seems unrealistic to have gotten shot or fallen down the steps or whatever and not to have some sort of condition. So I guess the severity and the length then become an issue as far as how do we
Well, I think you should do one or the other, right? Because you don't want to double dip by taking damage, and the classic core way, right? By taking damage, you're already having negatives imposed on you, right? Because you're rolling less dice. So to throw a condition on top of that is essentially saying, okay, I know you've taken damage and now you're rolling less dice. And then we're also going to put something on top of that that's imposing a penalty on you as well.
Is the condition essentially the explanation of the negative, right? So if I get shot in the leg,
but you're tracking at that point potentially 5, 6, 7 conditions.
Well, so one hit is generally understood as you're bruised, you're battered, you're
unless you're shot with a gun.
I mean, it's a through and through again. Holy shit, you're the luckiest guy.
Or clawed by a deep one, or chewed on by a shoggoth, right?
Yeah. But so if you get raked across the chest, right? You've got some deep scratches. But it doesn't in a way inhibit you. You're not prevented from doing anything if you take that one hit, right? But if you take 2 and now you're at a -1, well, maybe it got your shoulder, so now your shoulder is not necessarily it tore something, right? But it's tweaked, it's whatever, and that's attributing the -1 because you're it's thrown off your aim. You're not as stable, right? That condition in a sense of this is explaining why this is this way, right?
So I agree with you that, and I mean, that's something that we've always just kind of done, narrating the combats, right? Or any type of damage that you have. But where you're already marking down what your current D6 are because you've taken damage, having a whole nother section to the character sheet where you're then also explaining those negatives, I feel is a waste of space, right? If they don't actually do anything, if it's that D6 in the abilities section that is really doing the thing, all you're really all at that point is you're just making a list of injuries.
That's fair. Okay, so just mix them all together then.
Yeah, I would say do it one or the other. I really do like the idea of conditions. I just feel like either do conditions or do ability damage. If you want a little bit more of a deadly system, I mean, I know that you've always kind of been harping on that with Core, right? Of like, I can get punched in the face or shot in the head and it still does 1 damage either way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then I have to remind myself that it's cinematic damage.
Yes. But at the same time, like, if you're reading a comic book, right? And you see somebody get a cross to the face, but then you also see somebody, boom, get blasted in the head. You don't expect the dude who just got blasted in the head to stand up and keep fighting the next frame.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You expect the zoom out of them slowly bleeding out on the pavement.
Right.
What
No,
if it isn't
I mean-
like... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking along the same lines as like the trauma track, where like instead of it just being expressed as just straight damage, it's like you get these progressively worse things, and then it eventually leads to just death.
Right, yeah. All right, so John, what we're telling you, this is an intervention. And we're actually telling you that COREthulhu is a Blades in the Dark game.
Shit. Well, I've never... I know nothing of Blades in the Dark. Is that what it's like? No, if that's what it's like,
Yes.
then we don't want to do that.
Yeah, with Blades in the Dark, so the way that their damage system works is you can take 2 minor damage, 2 major damage, 1 serious damage. And then
that's also
once
Fate.
all those 5 are filled up, you're dead.
That's Fate too. Shit.
Is that Fate too?
I think that is Fate. I think Fate has like a...
Well, then it's a proven system. There you go. I think it works. Problem solved.
Yeah, if you get shot, it takes like 2 of
We
your
stand on the
boxes.
shoulders
No,
of giants.
I always like the idea of the ability scores being your hit points though. So it's... I don't know, it's tough. I don't know. It's a tough thing. How do you get around it? How do you get around it lasting long?
So you could do a derivative stat, right? And just do HP and just have it be like your health and your strength.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a good idea or not. I'm just as a potential
could, yes.
alternative, right?
Yep.
And just have that, right? Because if you've got 2 2s, you're at 4. If you got 2 3s, you're at 6. I mean, you're never going to get a 6 otherwise.
Like makes you put points in there though too. Like,
Yeah.
But if you're
to
like,
avoid not having a 1.
that's the thing, right? If you
Right.
want to do like 2 4s, well, you've probably got 3 1s. So you suck at everything. You just won't die when you get shot, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's a trade-off, one that you could make if you have that kind of a power gamer, but like they're not going to do anything other than soak up damage in a fight.
Yeah. I mean, I do enjoy the idea of taking the ability damage, death spiral of sorts, right?
That's true too, because my little accountant guy in that game that we played before had a 1 in health. And I think there was like a firefight, and I just hid in the back seat of the taxi. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm just in the back seat of the taxi till it was over.
I mean, alternatively, what you can do is damage bonuses, right? I mean, you can say like a firearm, like a pistol, is automatically +2 damage, right?
That is something that you and I talked about as well. that would just be more, but it does make it extremely more deadly.
It does.
I mean,
I'm okay with
makes
that.
sense. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with a firearm or even like a bladed weapon being more dangerous. And like when that enters into the, I mean, it changes the way you have to think of the fight. If you're like, fuck, that guy's got a gun, we can't.
But it also, I mean, it carries over into monsters too, right?
Yeah.
Into, you know, like and I'm only going to repeat this because I have very little Cthulhu knowledge, so I only know like 3 monsters. But like, you know, if your Shoggoth like bites down, like it's not going to be like, if I bite you, I'm going to do 1 damage, right? You know, but if a giant monster bites you, its base damage is going to be higher than mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it feels like it makes sense, right? Like,
definitely.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it does make it. It may make the trauma track unnecessary.
No, because and you know, it's not, in the end too. Inherently, it's not a combat game. Right? It's an investigation game.
Yeah.
Now you will get into combat, but similar, look at Deadlands, right? It makes you be smarter because you know it's that much. In theory, it should make you more smarter. All right.
I just run away. So
right, you shouldn't
well, that's
stand.
because you
I know you
failed your
shouldn't stand on a balcony in the open when a guy's shooting you with a rifle.
Yes.
Fine. So yeah, like it should make you smarter in combat because it is inherently more deadly, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to take 4 or 5 or 6 hits.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna take 2 or 3, and then you're gonna be in some serious shit. And that's kind of how it should be.
Yeah.
If you wanted to consider this too, like, yeah, a gun is more dangerous, but a gun also puts a condition on you. You're shot. Like, and then that affects your actions. You know?
Yeah. It brings to mind like Dark Heresy, right? Like we played Rogue Trader where you're like in that mid tier of power. But in like Dark Heresy, like fuck. If you try to even out all your stats, you're maybe like 25, 30 in all your stats. So like you get into a combat
a 78.
Yeah. Well, you get into a combat and you have to be smart. You have to plan ahead. You've got to take cover. You've got to you have to approach the game differently than playing Rogue Trader or what the fuck's it? Death Watch. Where you could just stand there and take shots because you're in fucking power armor and you're like 18 feet tall or whatever the fuck.
Right.
Shit.
Yeah, it's a different scale, right? Yeah.
See, now I kind of want conditions because I think it's kind of funny to have like, oh yeah, I got this. My firearm applies the condition I'm shot, and that gives me like a -2 to all actions.
And I mean, honestly, conditions could be a short-term thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you could have like, okay, you're shot, so for X number of rounds or for the next round or whatever, like this is the effect of that.
Yeah, until the bullet gets out and you get healed, you're at
so it might not be like a long-term thing. It could just be like the immediate effect of what just happened to you.
Yeah.
Similar to shock, right? Shock is, hey, okay, here we go. Shock is the immediate effect of a mental experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So shock is the immediate effect of a mental response, and trauma is the mental damage, right? Conditions are the immediate effect of a physical act, and then the damage that you take in your stats is the reflection of the damage of that, the injuries and shit.
Mm-hmm. I like that metaphor. Yeah.
that's good. That's a good train of thought for that.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll have to ponder on that then and see how to make that work.
Yeah.
I almost feel like, well, see, it's tough then. So if we were to do conditions as a short-term thing, I almost feel like then, and if we go with the, more dangerous, then I almost feel like we do a derived HP number if you're having the conditions versus, like you were saying, choose conditions or, choose the damage to the stat. So if we
I think you could do it. Honestly, you could have it. What if it's part of the weapon? Like,
I mean,
it's
gun
certain.
is gun.
No, so certain attacks inflict certain conditions.
Yeah, like gun
Right?
is I'm shot.
So, like, yeah, a gun inflicts the shot condition.
Or
I
bleeding.
was kind of
Right, exactly, yeah.
Sort of pointing at the idea of the condition affects your actions moving forward, but like like the damage takes away from your stats, but the condition applies your actions moving forward. So I'm shot means I'm not as effective. So if you get shot twice, you're like way less effective. It's like I think just like it compounds that way.
Yeah.
Well, but then you're double dipping, right? Because you're taking a condition so you're not as effective,
true.
and then if you're losing, if you take 2 hits in agility,
Yeah.
you're also taking a negative inherently because of the way the system works, right?
What if the condition is no, I don't know. Because I forgot that in this both sides are rolling.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it would only really be.
What if the all right? So what if? And I know you're not technically supposed to do this. You're supposed to treat both sides equally. But you, in theory, could still do it. What if? So the condition is imposed with the weapon. So, i.e., gun imposes shot, right? But it's part of the roll. So, if I roll a yes and shooting with a gun, then the and is not extra damage, but affliction of the condition.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
kind of like echoes the Fantasy Flight Star Wars, where like you activate the conditions with advantages. Yeah.
Because we're already making if you are doing scale like the inherent damage, right? Of like you're already boosting up the damage of certain attacks and shit. You don't necessarily need that +1 damage from a yes and, right?
Yeah.
Because if a gun is already doing 3 or 4 damage, then what's an extra 1, right?
I mean, an extra 1 can put them down.
It could, yeah. But the condition could potentially lead to that as well, right? Like getting shot could be dazed, right? Like, I'm shot, so like I'm fucking woozy and shit for a round. Or, being stabbed is like and using a knife gets you you're bleeding now. So like you take an additional damage each round until you like put something over it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. Play around with that.
I think we'd have to play test it because I feel like that
absolutely,
gets really deadly really fast and makes encounters like, if you get into combat,
faster.
This is over.
Yeah, perfect. Job done.
Faster.
Yeah, I don't know that I love that if we're looking for a long-term play.
Well, yeah. Well, again, though, like it makes you smarter about getting into combat, right?
Yeah. It makes you smarter, but it doesn't mitigate the potential outcome.
True.
I mean, you're not always going to have cover.
Well, no. I mean, look at our Call of Cthulhu game, right? Like, you can either play it smart, like you guys do, right? Or you can be Georgie.
Hasn't killed you yet.
It hasn't. But like in Call of
Almost.
Cthulhu, it's very possible that 2 shots can put you down. Right?
Yeah,
If you're
if
going
you
up
roll
against
well
a
enough,
monster. Yeah, if you go up against a monster, I mean there's been times where I took 6 damage. Right? Like, and let's be fully honest. Georgie should have died a long time ago, but Oscar pulls his punches.
I think so, probably, yeah.
There's no GM out there in the world that asks you what your current hit points are and isn't intending on telling you a number lower than that when they tell you how much damage you take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like combat and that kind of a confrontation in a Cthulhu game is supposed to be extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and for sure. Yeah. And call back to that, like in that last episode, you take a fucking cleaver to the shoulder, right? There's no consequence for that. No, right? There's no condition that's involved with that. It's like, oh, you take 6 damage, you get a cleaver sticking out of you. And it's like, well, if you get cleavered in the shoulder, like you can't use your arm anymore, right? Like the collarbone's broken, the tendons are
Yeah.
But like, is that is that fun or not, right? Like that's the
well, I mean, it really all depends on like we're still playing a game, right? So you want to make that narrative, but maybe if you get cleavered, right, you still have a gouge in you, right?
Yeah.
So like at that point you have to be smart, and so you're bleeding out. So maybe like for the next round, yeah, you do fucking hide behind a rock and like take your shirt and wrap it around and pack the wound to stop the bleeding.
Yeah, I guess I guess at that point it's like, hey, why did you send a monster with a cleaver after us, GM? It's like, well, that's the monster that's there. Like you chose to fight the monster with the cleaver.
Right, exactly. You're the idiot that ran up to it.
So I don't know. I don't know at what point the conversation. Well, is that fun? It's like, well, I don't know. Like I chose to fight a monster with a cleaver.
It was fun.
You know,
not so much the decision to do it, but the consequence, the fallout thereof, right? Like if the narrative description is you get chopped in the neck with a cleaver, like somebody just got murdered in Tucson, they took a fucking machete to the neck and almost decapitated him. He lived for about 2 weeks before he died. Like that's the outcome of what happened to fucking Georgie. Not you run into the cabin and like then attack another monster because we just sort of shrug it off, right? Like,
yeah, but it's fantasy, right?
I know.
Yeah,
but yeah, like
John Wick made it 4 movies.
Yeah,
so stupid. It's so stupid.
It's movies, right? And
I can't watch them. It's dumb.
Oh, they're awesome.
Oh, he got hit by a car. That's fine. He just gets into another fight now. Like, no, he broke all of his ribs in his spine and his fucking...
Every bone in his chest cavity is shattered.
Yeah. Like, I can't. It's just dumb. I can't do it. All right. All right. Well, we're like 2.5 hours. We should probably wrap this up because it's fucking 1,000,000 o'clock already. All right. Well,
I think we solved like a lot of issues, or at least
bunch of it,
or made progress on a bunch of shit.
Move some things along. Yeah. Now I gotta edit this all and fucking re-listen to it. So I thought about taking notes and I was like, wow, we're gonna fucking record it. I don't know when we're gonna do that.
Yeah. It's a living document.
Yeah. A WIP, if you will.
A wet. What did he say? I'm not going to repeat
it. All right. Cool. Well, thank you guys.
I think that's a WAP you're thinking of, John. That's...
No, you weren't there for that. Yeah, Kurt had a wonderful.
Kurt had a different one.
Oh, nice.
You got to tune in the post show for that. I appreciate you guys coming on and humoring me and sort of picking at this a little bit and trying to sort out some of these issues that hopefully forces me to like actually do something.
Yeah, do shit.
Yeah. All right, cool. So we want to thank everybody for checking it out. I know we had a couple people jump in and out.
Nice.
John, you got anything to plug, share, mention?
Oh, no, just what we do here. Listen to this, to the Legends of Tabletop podcast. That's it.
Okay.
That's all I
Kevin?
do.
Yeah, that's what I should say. I usually just say, "Nope, I'll be back for the next game." I should plug what I'm on. But yeah, what John said, I second that.
Well, so Chad one night after we were done playing, he was like, "You know what? I wanna plug the concept of friendship and camaraderie and." But was hey, like like you're reading something cool, you watch it, see a good movie. I don't know, like there's other shit going on. All right, what about you, Jesse?
I don't know. I'm watching a lot of curling right now. U.S. just won silver. That was cool.
That's good shit.
Absolutely.
My wife is pissed because I got one of my daughters into it. So the two of us were sitting on the couch watching the USA play Sweden for the gold this afternoon.
Oh, who won that?
Spoilers. No.
Sweden. Sweden won.
All right.
Yeah.
See, you got to wait for her to come home tomorrow, and then just both of you get a broom and just like brush in front of her as she's coming in the house.
That's good.
It was tough because in the second end, Sweden got 2 points, and then they ended the eighth end with the hammer, and so they took it at the end. So it was tough, but it was a good game. So well fought.
Nice.
It's a
John,
crazy.
John understood none of that.
I've seen curling in years past. I'm old.
go.
I've seen curling before.
There's going to be a professional curling league with some NFL players sponsoring it.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Is it Kelsey? He sponsored a women's team for the last Olympics or something.
Really?
In France and Paris or whatever. He's there with his little fucking beret and shit. I don't remember what it was.
George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, and Jared Allen.
Oh, okay.
The world's first professional rock league.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm going to be so on this.
Yeah, shit. I probably will watch that.
Nice. All right. Well, we have our t-shirts for sale. I have our guillotine with the flag on it, which is yeah, that's a good one. So if you want to buy a t-shirt, those are for sale. Links in the show notes. Donating all the proceeds. We ratings and reviews on iTunes or whatever your podcatcher of choice is dubiously helpful, but in theory that is a good thing. We're on some of the social media. We're on Blue Sky. There's a Facebook page. You can reach out to us on the website. Obviously, we're on YouTube and all that shit. We have our core products. Speaking of COREthulhu for like 1.5 million hours, there's a link for that in the show notes. You can get the original iteration of COREthulhu available now. You will also need to pick up Core Micro to be able to play it. Both of those products are free. At some point in the future, there's hopefully going to be a full book that comes out. I might be in a situation like Jesse where I maybe work on it forever and then possibly put it out at some future point.
I think Runners is at 6 years now, 5 years, something like that.
So we'll see how all that goes. And thanks for checking it out. We appreciate it. And we have Patreon too. If you want to throw a couple of bucks our way, if you want to provide us with some resources, or whatever you were saying earlier.
It's a mechanic we're not using.
That's cool. It helps offset costs. But yeah, thanks for checking it out, and we'll catch you next time.